welcome back to the Jolly Ranchers YouTube channel. It has been a while since the last video, and that is because I forgot to record this intro and outro for a long time. This week we're doing some custom commands. One command is the change animation speed command, which can make your game go in reverse if you do it right, if there are lots of animations in your game. I'll also be doing a move to command, which makes one object move towards another over a set period of time. You could use this for something like a card game, where the card needs to move towards the next spot on the table that you want the card to go. And I did all this because I was making an enemy encounter, a real-time fight against an AI, and I needed a move to command in Fungus. So I thought, as a precursor to that video, I would do this one. So I hope you enjoy. So this week we will be doing custom commands because of a thing that I ran into making a small fight with an enemy, as you can see here in Fungus. I've made a very rudimentary fight with an enemy. As you can see, we have health bars. The player seems to be dead already, which is something I need to fix. I will show you how to make the custom command that I made to make this enemy move towards the player, and I'm going to show another couple custom commands that might be helpful, show you the process for how to do it, etc. So here we go. Okay, so the first custom command, as you can see, I've already made the move towards command. So I'll show you that after I show you how to make a new command in general. And we're going to make a change animation speed command. Either you can pause an animation that you make in the animation window, or you can even reverse the animation to -1, or make an animation go faster or really fast backwards. So I'm going to show how to do that. And I'm going to right click, and I went into the Fungus folder, which should be in assets if you've imported Fungus from GitHub. I have a video on that, so check it out. But you click on the Fungus folder, you go to scripts, and you go to commands. You can either make the command in here, or it might be better to make another folder and call it custom commands. I've never had a problem either way, but if you have to update your Fungus to a newer version because you've run into some problem or you want a new feature, then you should probably do this and make a new folder called custom commands. And you're going to go in here, right click, create C# script. And I'm going to call this change anim speed. Okay, and once you've named it, you can double click on it and it should open up in Visual Studio or whatever your coding thing is. IDE, that's the name. Okay, so what you're going to want to do, and what I've done to learn custom commands, is I look at another Fungus command to figure out the requirements for creating a command, because these are C# scripts. These commands in the commands folder are C# scripts just like the one we're about to make. And everything that runs in Fungus is pretty much that. So a good thing to copy for this would be something like play anim state, because it uses some of the things that we might want to use in our animation command. So I'm going to go ahead and open this one up as well by double clicking it. So as we can see, we need to use the namespace Fungus after whatever other libraries we are using to draw commands from, like animator. You know, a normal C# script won't know what an animator is, but if we're using the Unity engine namespace, it will be like, ah, yes, we have animators in us. So that is the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to add the namespace Fungus and make sure it's all in brackets in my play anim state command. In fact, I'm just going to copy all of this. As you can see, if you expand the public members region, you can see what actually makes the play anim state command run. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy all of this, and I'm just going to paste it here. And it will obviously be confused because there's two mono behaviors in this script, but you want to make sure you name your mono behavior the same thing as you named the C# script. So I'm just going to go ahead and steal the name to make sure I type it correctly, and I'm going to delete the things that were in this script before. And now I'm going to go ahead and name this the thing that it is, change anim speed : command. So if we were making this from scratch, we would namespace fungus, bracket, and then you can put in this, the command info will appear in, when you go to a block and you press plus, it will appear in the animation section. So that's the first thing that goes in this command info section. As long as you copy this syntax, you should be able to do the same thing. And then this will be the name of the individual command. So we are going to want to call it change anim speed, so we can go ahead and do that. Awesome. And now this is the description of what the thing does. You can get these helpful descriptions down here. It often teaches you how to use a command, which is always helpful. So we can put that in so that other people may use these commands if I ever get around to using GitHub or Google Drive to share my scripts. And sorry for the delay on that. Changes an animator's speed based on a speed integer. And I will just go ahead and say 0 pauses. The anim 1 is regular speed. -1 plays the anim backwards. Okay, so that's just a rough guide on what we'll be doing here. We are going to want an animator component. We are going to want a reference to an animator, so we can drag the animator that we want to change the speed of into this. Serialize field means we can see it in the command inspector. So if we want a private variable, we could just, take that out. Protected is a class of variable that the maker of Fungus, Chris Gregan, used a lot, but this could very well just be public even, or private, because we serialize field. But if you made it public, you wouldn't need serialize field and it would appear. But we're going with the standard that Chris Gregan set because he is a professional coder for a game design company. So we don't want to mess with that, really. And the only other thing we really want here is an integer called speed, which will just decide the speed that we are temporarily changing the entire animator to play. So I'm going to delete these other things. I'm going to keep this protected integer dater and just rename it speed. By default, I'll just make it 1, even though that's not going to change the animation speed. Maybe I'll do 0 because that'll pause it. So that just will set the default value in the command inspector. When we add the command, it will automatically assume you want to pause your animation because we put 0 there. Okay, so the public override void on enter method is the method by which the commands play in order. As you can see, this continue command will make sure our command moves on to the next command after it in the blocks here. So this set anim bool command that I have here, in its on enter method, we haven't saved our change anim speed command yet, so it doesn't appear here. But if I did a play anim state command here, then the continue method in that on enter method will make sure it plays this command next. So that's something you want to make sure you have in your on enter method. The only reason you wouldn't use an on enter method is if you were using a library like itween or leantween, and you can just use those commands that already exist as templates for what you're going to want to do here. You're going to want a do tween method, etc. So in our on enter method is when we're going to want to actually put the command that changes the anim speed. And the thing we want to do is very simple. We want to keep if animator value is not equal to null, then we will do a command. And if the animator value is null, then it won't break the game. It will not do a command that it cannot handle. So the command for changing an animator speed is animator dot value dot speed, and we can set it equal to our speed variable semicolon. So that's really all we need. So these things are optional. We can get a summary from the outside of the command so that if there's no animator selected, it will return this error at the top of the command. And I can even show you what that looks like. If I were to go in here and add a animation command, the summary will look like this. And then when we do add an animator, this building chunk 5 is my enemy, then it will appear here. And as you can see, it will even, type in whatever state name, or the state name will appear here also. Because if we look at the summary, then we can see that it returns the animator.value name and the state name value. So that's what getSummary will do for you. Luckily, this is exactly what we want it to be, so I'm just going to leave that. And then it will change the button color, and this is the red value, the green value, the blue value, and the alpha value. 255 is completely opaque. And you can, as always, set these color values by going to any sprite you have, and you can just go ahead and look at a plain white sprite somewhere, and you can change the colors up here using the color wheel, which is much easier. And let's say that's the color I wanted my command to be. I could set it to these values here, the red value, the green, the blue, and the alpha. Just a little bit of an extra organizational thing. It's always helpful to have different colors stand out to you so you can easily read what you're doing. So as we can see down here in this method, which, is optional. All these three are all optional, but this returns a Boolean. It returns true if this command references the variable. So this is just to make sure your variable have references, and it's used to highlight variables in the variable list when a command is selected. So if your custom command is using an animation variable that you set up in the variable window of your flowchart, then as the animation plays, it will highlight in green that variable to show you that variable is being used right now. So that could be helpful if you're using a integer variable for your speed, a Fungus integer variable, and a Fungus animator variable. You can see that. But as you can see, they're referencing variables we have gotten rid of. So I am just going to get rid of the state name variable, and I'm going to rename our integer variable what it's named now, which is speed. And I am going to go ahead and delete this time variable, which we're not using. And that should be fine. Okay, now we need to make sure to save that, and this will take a while. Okay, let's go look at it in the list. It should be there, and it's not. So I went ahead and saved when there was still an error down here, which I should have noticed because there's no state name, but I could easily replace this with speed.value. And so now in the inspector, it'll tell us what speed we are playing our animation at. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this again, and then we should see it in the list in Fungus. Okay, and I'll go over here, add command, go up to animation, and there is the change anim speed command that we've made. Wow! And I'm going to go to my animator, drag it in, and I'm going to pause it, apparently, as soon as we go into its trigger zone. So let's check that out. It'll make a very boring boss battle, but it'll prove that it works. And when we exit the trigger area, the animation that it has is very minimal. The moving that it does toward us is not its animation, but in fact, it's this strange little pulsating motion that for some reason I did to make this enemy seem more alive. So it paused that. It was not very obvious, but it does work. So let's take a look at that move towards command that's making it move towards us. This could just be a helpful reference for other commands. It's always good to look at more so we can understand them. So same setup. I didn't use these namespaces because I just didn't, so we can delete them. They're taking up space. Command info, I put it in the property category because it's not really a tween. Move towards is what it's called because we are using the vector2.moveTowards command down here, and it moves a game object to a specified position over time. Place an update block, so you can update the position every frame so that it follows something wherever it goes. This is a helpful command. You can use it for enemies or anything that the player can control the movement of. So in a card game, you could use the move towards command because you're moving the cards around. In a point and click, something could follow your mouse around the screen. So this could be useful for anything that the player can move all over the screen in any game. So I didn't put a tooltip summary over it, but I definitely could. But I think object to move is pretty obvious. This is the thing we want to move towards this target. So to make this more clear, I'm going to go ahead and add in a tooltip. And the string wants to be inside the bracket. So I'll just put the bracket over here. Target that the object to move will move towards. Okay, and as you can see, tooltips make things more clear. So we want these two game object variables, and then we want some completely private variables. These two vector2 variables, we're just going to use them inside the script. You'll see how. And we want a serialized field so that we can change the speed that our object moves towards things in the command itself. So here's our onEnter method again. It's the only thing here because I didn't care about all those frills. So we have to figure out our target position, and that is our game object's transform.position here. So this is every time we run this command, and we'll place it in an update block. So every time we run this command, we're getting the target position again. We're getting that object that we're moving towards and its position every frame. And then we are figuring out our current position, and we're turning that into a vector2. You could easily just make this a vector3 and use the command vector3.moveTowards, but since we're in 2D, object to move.transform.position.x and object to move.transform.position.y are our two coordinates. Same thing with target position, and then we want to change the object to move to vector2.moveTowards. Current position is the vector2 current, as you can see that it wants. Target position is the target that it wants. And then speed times time.delta time, the interface to get time information from Unity. So this is so that we can move things at a certain speed over time. And then we do the continue command, and that should work just fine. Okay, that's it for this video. Next video, I will be teaching you how I did that enemy encounter. And then after that, I am thinking about doing a turn-based combat system using the new collections feature in Fungus and the commands that come with that. And teaching you how to save and load collections with some custom commands that the community stirred up. Hopefully I can figure out how to do top-down movement in Fungus, which would be fun and awesome if I could figure out how to do that. And yeah, that's the plan. So if you like these videos, please subscribe, leave a nice comment, like the video, share it with your friends who you might want to make video games with, and wishlist my upcoming game, Kid Detective, on Steam. Follow me on Twitter. You know, you can do a whole bunch of nice things for me if you want. And until next time, stay jolly.